Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show, where we go across country and travel the world with members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. Let's go. So, Spuddy, welcome to Big Blend Radio here on our Food, Wine, Travel podcast with the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. It's got to be warming up in Louisiana right now, right?
Lisa, it is in the 90s. It was close right at 90, 91 degrees. And we feel like 200% humidity, I swear. It's just, yeah, it's hot. Hot and muggy. It's just how we live.
But you still eat, even if it's hot.
The heat or cold or anything, rain, sunshine, never stops us from eating. We like our food. We really do.
So tell us where you are. And is it Faucheux? I got to get this pronunciation.
So there's a few ways to pronounce it. Faucheux is what would have been pronounced in the old days, but Faucheux is the way they say it today.
Okay. So
we have different
Faucheux.
things. Yeah, Faucheux. Faucheux, all that would have been correct at one time or another since we came to Louisiana.
So your family came from what, France?
Faucheux would have come from France. And then also have Acosta, which would have come from the Canary Islands. And we have Troxka, which would have come from Germany. So a little bit of everywhere.
Well, that's the cool thing about your area is a lot of people automatically think French, Spanish. Of course, there's indigenous peoples, right? There's Africans,
Yes.
history in there too, and food. This is what I love about Louisiana is you can't beat the food because it's just so multicultural and good. And everyone gets along together, and it's through food. I think food is this connective piece for the entire state of why things work.
Lisa, no doubt about it. And in my cooking classes, I've talked to people and they want to know why our food is so different. What makes our food so different? I said it's the different cultures that come together. And they can't understand how that happens because a lot of places, people pretty much stay in their own little community where their own culture is or whatever. And I said, no, we blend it all together. Our cooking culture all comes together because we learn from each other and we cook together.
Yeah.
And at one time or another, we'd have all had to live together, be forced to cook together. So it definitely explains why our food is so much different than anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think it's multi-generational too. So everyone's in the kitchen, old and young, right?
Old and young, doesn't matter. And I was in the kitchen at a young age, but really didn't get in the kitchen full time or learn how to cook till I was in my 30s because I was busy.
But you already were thinking business when you were like 8 years old, right?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. 8 years old. I already knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that.
Do you think Louisiana is like that? Because I feel that. I mean, we were just in Avoyelles Parish meeting with people. We've done a lot in Louisiana. It's one of those states that just keeps calling us back. It must be the good gumbo. I don't know what's going on, but it's the people. And I think everywhere we've been, it's a strong community,
Yeah, yes. So a lot of communities take the Vacherie, the way I live at. A lot of the people in the community have been here. Their families have been here since the town was created. It's the same families over and over and over because you had small communities. People wound up here and they basically stayed here. So these communities, everybody's related. Somewhere down the line, you're related to somebody in the town unless they came from somewhere else. I mean, completely somewhere else. You're related to somebody else out here. And so it is definitely strong ties. And yes, we all love the good party. We love to cook. We love to eat. And we all just love to get together. It's a very rare environment because you don't get this everywhere in the United States.
No, no, you don't. It is I always say Louisiana is its own country. Yes, it is part of the United States of America, but its own country. And I think the history is so good. And as people celebrate America's 250th birthday, learn how to make some Louisiana food to be part of it because the history, I mean, look at the Louisiana Purchase and I mean, New Orleans and the Battle of New Orleans and all of that means this is an integral place in our country and history, culture, community, and the food is definitely its own thing. I mean, Louisiana has its own thing, but you're in Vacherie, which is really in the river parishes, right? So that's between Baton Rouge and Louisiana.
So Baton Rouge and New Orleans. So we're right in the middle. I mean, if you took Baton Rouge and New Orleans and drew a line halfway, we'd be in the middle. So we're in the middle of everything and also in the middle of nowhere.
And
So
on the
it's rural.
Jefferson Highway, though.
And on the Jefferson Highway, yes.
Okay, so everyone, y'all, my friends in the Jefferson Highway, this is some place you want to put on your road tripping map. And so what I love about this is that people can come to you and take a cooking class and start to understand when people go to Louisiana, they're eating all the good food, but it's like, I want to learn what are the spices, what is the ingredients, what is hogshead cheese, really? I was explaining that to someone the other day and I'm like, I hope I'm getting this right. I better call Spuddy.
Yeah. So we have so many different things. Also, and a lot of it came from survival food. A lot of foods that 100 years ago, 150 years ago would have been survival food. Now we're eating it because number one, we can get it, and number two, it's good. And of course, we Cajuns were good, and not only Cajuns, all the cultures were good at taking what they had and turning it into a good dish. It could be pork stomach, it could be ham hocks, it could be taking a piece of sausage, whatever you were going to make, and turn it into something and cook it where it was really, really good. A lot of that had to do with having big families years ago, because we know we all Catholic out here because of French heritage, and in Catholicism you have to have children, and they were
Same
very
as the
good at it.
Spanish. Same as the Spanish.
Same as the Spanish. So to feed all those hungry little rugrats at the table, you had to stretch the food, your stews, your gumbos. You had to stretch that food out and make do with what you had. That was part of the Cajun culture.
But now you're a little different being in the river parishes because you not only have the French, the Spanish, and all the other, cultures we were talking about, but you got the German side, which makes it a little bit different. And I think that's something people may not even realize that is in like the state. It's part of the state makeup.
The German culture is as far as like the names, the German names and the German genealogy, it's very strong in the river parishes because Germans came into St. Charles Parish first, then St. John, and then St. James. It was all part of the Germans coming in 1721. So yes, that culture is very, very dominant out here. And still have a lot of the German names, even though they've been French fried, I call them because you came into French territory, and of course they changed the name to whatever they could pronounce, and different pronunciations on vowels and all that, and names got changed. But at the end of the day, we still have a good heavy German culture, and we had 3 German ladies here last year, and they were straight from Germany, talked fluent German, talked very good English, and they were here students. They didn't know about the German coast. They didn't know about our German heritage here, so they learned it right here in my cooking class.
Wow. Wow, this is fascinating to me too because they come to the cooking class, they learn a little bit of where their country went, their people went over Louisiana, they get some education there. But when I think about like some of the dishes that I've had in Louisiana, y'all like sausage, whether it's andouille sausage or boudin, there's like something, and hogshead cheese, there's like the meat thing going. Like you will eat everything off of an animal. Like there's no waste. Like you're saying, you're stretching that food. There's no waste of food. Do you think a little bit of that is also German coming in with the sausage and,
The so you look at the different cultures. I'm just going to use a pot of gumbo as an example. Pot of
right?
gumbo will cover all of our cultures. If you have the gumbo, you have the okra. That's going to be African. King gumbo, the African word for gumbo. Gumbo. So you have the okra. African. You have the roux, French. You have the sausage and do it. That would be your German. The German were a sausage maker. They did not invent sausage, but they were the sausage makers here. So sausage was invented years and years, thousands of years ago. But they came here and were able to make all the sausage and undo it. Then you had your Spanish, all your seasonings, your peppers and all. And then you had your rice that could have been West Indies, could have been African. So you take all these cultures and put them together that we have. That pot of gumbo can represent every culture. And of course, your indigenous people, that would have been your filé. The
Mm.
filé that you put in to use as a thickener instead of a roux. And then all added with the roux. And then also, I'm trying not to leave anybody out, but you have all these things that come together. The Cajuns would have been if you cooking wild game or anything that you could catch, kill, grow, whatever. Cajuns were survivors. They lived on the land, the water, and so a lot of wildlife, a lot of seafood would have been Cajun going into our gumbo. So it covers all the cultures you can cover. And that's why it's our specialty dish.
The gumbo, yeah. And that represents why a party too. You always got gumbo at a party. But you talk about filet. What is filet actually? Because I've had some, like I've had it as in a package and put it in like a stew, and I don't think I was doing anything right with it. But
So another one of
I
those
don't.
things that was used as a thickener, really. So
Okay.
that was the indigenous people, and they would take the sassafras leaf, and they would take the little pestle and mortar and just crush it. And of course, you had to shake it and filter it and get all the stems out. And they would use it. What they would do, they would whip it into the stew or whatever they were making, and they would rope it so that when you raise it up, it looked like a rope. And that's how they knew when their gravy was thick enough. People now add it to their gumbo a little bit, filet gumbo, but you have to watch you don't put too much because it is a thickener. So, and then
Okay.
also the indigenous people, they would have taken those sassafras leaves back in the 1700s and 1800s, made that, and twice a week, once or twice a week, go to the French market in New Orleans and actually go sell it
Mm.
because people used it. They used a lot of it back then.
So what is the difference between jambalaya and gumbo?
Good question. So gumbo is more like a soup, and so it's gonna be very roux based. And depending where you're at, how dark the roux is gonna get, we make a dark roux. The darker the roux, the heartier the flavor. That's why Cajun
Oh,
gumbo is so much better than anybody else's because we get that hearty flavor. Yeah, yeah, I am a little biased, but but everybody makes a good gumbo. New Orleans was always famous for their gumbos, even back in the old newspaper, 1700, 1800. So the gumbo is gonna be more like a soup. Jambalaya is gonna be a rice dish. Goes back to different cultures. I always look at it, jollof rice, African. That would have been a lot of tomatoes smothered down, mix it with
yeah.
rice and seasonings. That would have been their jollof rice. The paella, Spanish. They couldn't bring saffron down from it was too expensive to come from Spain. So what they did, they substituted tomatoes. They would have had that paella. Of course, they say now everybody wants to say they invented jambalaya. But you get out in the Cajun world, and this is just me saying this, but it was very common to take a lot of leftovers, cook them down in a black iron skillet at the end of the day, mix it with some rice, and I always say this, jumble it together. There's our jambalaya. But jambalaya is basically a protein and rice. It's not a roux base. Once you get
Okay.
into roux base, you get into stews and gumbo, but because you're building gravies. But jambalaya is going to be, and it's how you make that little gravy, building that jambalaya. I call it building, layering those flavors to get a real tasty rice. And Creole red, so that's your New Orleans, and then get the Cajun jambalaya. It's going to be brown.
Wow. Okay. So that's what you do at Spuddy's
Oh
is
yeah.
teach everybody that part of it, or do you ever serve it or do catering, or is it only cooking classes?
Jambalaya is probably one of the most popular dishes you're going to serve out here in Vacherie. Every funeral is going to probably have a pot of jambalaya served with a lot of other food. And people have a party, somebody's going to cook the jambalaya. Now all the men have bought their jambalaya cooking setup, their pot, their paddle, and all. So everybody wants to have that, and they have their man cave. So everybody wants to cook jambalaya. Kind of macho now. But the rice, using the rice and the protein, that was the way they get your carbs and your protein back in the old days. And you can mix this, mix it up with rice. It would be a jambalaya. And so yes, it is still very popular out here. What's the right way to do it? Your way.
Okay.
Look, I teach people how to cook jambalaya. When they come to my Cajun cooking experience, they come here, they learn how to cook jambalaya and gumbo or anything else they want. Classes are really flexible. And a young couple from the UK came the other day and they cooked the jambalaya. I teach them how to do it so they can go home with it. Not I'm not hiding any ingredients. I teach them how to cook it from the table. So when they go home, they can cook that jambalaya with the ingredients they have in their country or their hometown because they can't always get what we have.
Right. I know that. Well, Tabasco goes everywhere. I just
They did say that. We have Tabasco in the UK. Okay, you can use that. But so out here we have so many choices. Over there, they're very limited with their choice.
Mm,
So you have to meet them. We teach them how to cook it with my andouille and my sausage and some pork. But then tell, hey, you can use pork and chicken when you get home. You can use sausage and chicken. You
mhm.
can use anything you want because jambalaya was a way to cook leftovers. But they
It's
can
a
use it's
basic,
about
yeah.
layering the flavors. Yes, it's about layering those flavors. It's not about what the meat you put in it. But the only thing I tell them, garbage in, garbage out. Use quality meats to make that jambalaya
Well,
if you want
spice
to.
is important too. We were just I was saying we were in Avoyelles Parish and we went to Juno's and he does I did not know y'all did turkey necks and wings. That was
Oh,
a new.
yeah.
Do you do
Oh,
that
yeah.
too in your area?
Yes, we do.
And he was like showing how they chopped them up and then I mean there was a whole other new food thing there. I mean that's the beauty about going to all the different parishes is who settled where and what did they do food wise? Because now you got these
Okay.
new things. And, I'm still trying to learn how to pronounce anything over there, but I can say avoils now. That's my new thing. I did say Faucheux, we'll
It's
get
all
that.
good. It's all
We're going to
good.
get there, but I can say Spuddy. That I do know how to do. But it was really interesting going there. He has his own seasoning. Now, I've been to like Lake Charles area. I've been out to a Boudin shop there, and he has his own seasoning. So every time I go into a shop, and even you could be in a gas station. I want people to understand, go to Louisiana, eat food in the gas station. It's good.
Yeah,
It gas station
yeah.
food is a deal. I mean, those hot box lunches, it's a whole new thing, but it is, Benoit. That's it, at Benoit's. It was out in Sulphur
Okay.
that we went
Yeah.
to. Benoit. And he showed us how to make boudin. But he has his own seasoning. And it seems like everybody has their own seasoning. Do you make your own seasoning, or is that part of anything that you teach, is how to do your own? But it seems there's like, even when you were talking about the gumbo and the jambalaya, it seems there's this little fun competitive streak going across the country and region by region, but fun.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, you get 2 guys next to each other cooking gumbo, it's competition, it's game on. But you were asking about the seasoning. What
Yeah,
I teach
are
people,
people competitive on that too?
it's fun and they take it serious, but, at the end of the day, it's all about getting together and having a throwdown and having a good time with your friends.
Mm.
That's what it's
So
all about.
seasoning, do you teach people that part? Because isn't that everything?
So let me tell you, we make it very simple. And this is I do this for a reason. We're going back to the old days, 100 years, 200 years, going back in the when the days salt and pepper were invented. We use salt and pepper, all we season with. And they say, well, we have this special seasoning in the UK or in my state. I said, absolutely try it. Use the seasoning that you like. And don't be scared to go out there and try others. But they were asking me, the young couple from the UK were asking me about different seasons that they've tried. And I'll say, I like this one. I don't like this one, but it doesn't mean they're not good. It just means I
Mm,
don't like it. But I teach them how to cook with just salt and pepper seasoning. And that way they get the true taste of the food. They get the true flavors of all the fresh food that we have on the table.
mhm,
And you gotta remember, we're using my andouille and my sausage, seasoned with salt and pepper. So a lot of that flavor and that smoke is penetrating into that dish. It's a lot of flavor going into it. So we don't have to cover seasonings a lot because almost every dish almost seasons itself.
yeah. And you have to know the ingredient to know what seasoning goes with it, right?
That's why I can't write a recipe because you have to know your ingredients. You have to know the ingredient that you are using. So if I'm working on a cookbook, all my seasoning is probably going to be salt and pepper. Why? Because everybody has salt and pepper. If you're going to use your own seasoning, then you have to experiment with that. There's so many blends of seasonings out there. I can't cover them all in the cookbook, but I can cover salt and pepper. And everybody can understand salt and pepper.
Huh.
Then they can go turn that into their own seasoning and then use their own seasoning to tweak their dish. Because let me tell you something I tell people when they come here and cook. It's about you. Cook it your way. Don't cook it my way. I've taught you the foundation. I'm giving you the foundation. I've taught you how to cook this dish one way. But when you get back home, you can change it to cook it your way and make it better.
Mm,
Or you could do it the same way and use your season, use the meats that you have available, but use this foundation, this layer those flavors to
mm.
get a fantastic dish and use everything fresh.
Yeah, yeah, as best you can. I mean, especially
Yeah.
right now, it's summer, everything's ready. Go get it fresh as you can, because then it's like, the carrots will taste like a carrot, you
The
know?
carrots will take like a carrot. And one of the things you can do is since we can't get everything fresh, you buy them IQF frozen, instant quick freeze. You buy them in a frozen bag. They pick them out the field, score them, and quick freeze it, flash freeze them right away.
Mhm.
That is fresh as you can get because they've only stayed out in the field maybe 2 or 3 hours, and then they're frozen. All the nutrition's in. It's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah.
That is fresh as you're gonna get if you don't grow it. The
Okay.
canned goods, I stay away from canned goods. I have no canned goods I use in my cooking.
No, that's not, no. It's a no-no. Now, where does red beans and rice come from? Who does that?
So we still the old tradition about cooking the red beans on the Monday. They would soak their red beans the night before and then put them on a slow roll on Monday so they get washed. Monday was wash day. So the red beans being on the Monday came from the wash. Why do we eat so many beans out here? Because number one, it was readily available. You can
Mm,
buy red beans and white beans very cheap. And you can feed a lot of family with those red beans and white beans. So it became very famous out here. But the tradition of red beans on Monday, that was New
Mm.
Orleans, no doubt about it,
Oh, wow, wow.
because that's when mama washed.
That's it. So now in your area, you've got a lot of the plantations too. So does that influence the cooking? Were they mostly cotton that was being grown out of the plantations? I mean, being in a river parish means things were getting shipped and in and out. So, I mean, historically, were things being exported or were things coming in that you would get different ingredients historically into your area? You know what I mean? 'Cause, riverways are like a highway, and things
Mhm.
it creates a whole bunch of colorful history. Whatever happens on the water stays on the water, but not really. Eventually we find out the gossip.
You
But
find out exactly.
but did that influence the food? The actual
I've never thought about that before, but I think the food coming to the plantations was food that stayed on the plantation. Now, the people who grew up in plantations would have learned how to cook that food. But most of the food, a lot of food, the people, the regular people, they
Mm,
were raising their own food. Going to the store and buy the basics, but they were raising the hogs. They were cooking with the chicken. You had the Sunday chicken dinner. You had all these stews and red beans and white beans and all the stuff that you were cooking that the regular families would be cooking and eating. The plantations, a lot of like the sugarcane, we had all
mm,
sugarcane was
yeah, yeah.
being exported out to the French market, the French quarter, so they could be loaded on the ocean going ships or sent in other places in the United States at the time. But they would have them in barrels, hogshead, so they can roll them on the ships. So that would have been exported, but we'd have been they may have bought some other food in that they would have used at a plantation.
Or
Never
maybe the
explored that before.
spices, probably
Maybe something that spices. I mean, people at the plantation before the Civil War were very, very wealthy, so they could afford to bring stuff from other parts of the country, wherever they came from.
mm,
There's no doubt in my mind that they did, but the regular people living a day to day, they were survivors.
mm,
They had to live in what was given to them on the land, in the water,
yeah.
what they could grow. That's what they had to survive on.
Yeah, no, no, for real. Now, people coming out to see you, do you have regular classes or do you do it by appointments? How does it work for travelers come into Louisiana? So you're not far from New Orleans. So someone and people going to the plantations and the river parishes, I want people to know that there's beyond New Orleans. And I'm not knocking New Orleans because New Orleans a party, man. And it's got so much history. I mean, there's just a huge thing for New Orleans, but for people to understand that you could venture out and take some day trips.
It's funny you should say that before I get into my class. The couple from the UK, they stopped at Oak Alley Plantation the night before and they slept there. Then they came here. I was their first stop. They were going to Lafayette, New Iberia. They were going to West Louisiana to explore all the cultures there. Then they were going to go to New Orleans. So we're saving New Orleans for last. And I said, y'all really doing it right because they are actually getting a taste of all of our cultures along that Cajun corridor and then getting into the Creole corridor of New Orleans. So they're covering the whole thing. Different
Yeah.
foods, different traditions, different cultures, different everything. And I said, like, we don't even do that. We don't take advantage of our own of ourselves. We really don't. We have so much here. Lafayette, all that area, great place for food and dancing and partying and just an awesome place. You get over here and traveling that whole corridor. It's all unique, it's all different, and it all
Mhm.
brings a different perspective to your vacation. So you
Yeah.
definitely wanna do that. That was a very good point, Lisa. That's
Very
what I
cool.
would do.
And you're not far from Baton Rouge too for people to go there because that's a and that's your capital. It's
I'm an hour away.
wow, wow. So you're really perfectly positioned for travelers to come in and see you. But how do they go on your website or how does that all work to get a cooking class? And everyone, you can go to CajunCookingExperience.com. The link is in the episode notes. And I know when the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association had their conference last year in Lafayette, a lot of travel writers came to see you, and we've actually covered a few. You've been on the show before with Terry Guthrie, and I know Kat Anderson talked about you and Joe Clark. I mean, all of them been saying like you got to go to Spuddy's, and everybody you can't say Spuddy's without smiling. It's like Spuddy's. It's a good name you've got there, Spuddy. How did you get Spuddy? That's before. Where did the name Spuddy come from?
Good question. So my real name is Maitland. So I have a pure French name, Maitland John Faucheux. I was the third. So you would say it in French. One way of saying it in French is Marlin Jean Faucheux. That would be
Oui, oui.
a French way of saying it, but all French. But I was born in 1957. So what happened in 57 in November, October? The Sputnik.
Well, that's right. That's right. I remember that
Yeah.
about you. Yeah. You got
So,
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I
fit-
popped out, they said, "Oh, it's a Sputnik." And my mama had to teach me my real name before I went to school. Started off with Sputnik and went into Spuddy. And nobody forgets my name. That's the good thing.
Well, that's it. It's easier to say than your last name. But we all get to say it, but that's the thing. It's I think there's something about that, the Sputnik going up and then you thinking as a kid, I want to be an entrepreneur because Louisiana is the epitome of small businesses getting out there and entrepreneurship. And it's a way of life. Entrepreneurship is a way of life. And everybody's just straightforward. It's a good thing. You guys know how to do stomping and not just politically, right? It's stomping
Yeah,
for
right.
this.
Exactly.
It is just I don't know, it's really cool. I think, I truly believe everyone has got some vein of entrepreneurship in them. And even
I
if
know
they
that.
don't think it's because you have to be an entrepreneur of yourself as an individual.
Mhm.
Your resume should be about you, not just everybody else that you work for. It's about who
True.
you are. What are you about? What's your moral makeup? What are your morals? What are your ethics? What are your beliefs? What are your passions? Obviously food for you. And I mean, it would join the whole state there in Louisiana.
Well, we all like to eat, and
Yeah.
people call me, another thing is people call me a chef. Chef, what you got? I'm not a chef. I'm a cook. My mama was a great cook. My mom was a great cook. They weren't a chef. I want to be them. I want to be the person who has that home style cooking.
That's it.
Love a
Just
chef.
it sounds a lot more fun. The chef thing, I already get a little blood pressure up here thinking
Well,
about
they're
trying to
the
do that.
artists. They're the
Yeah.
artists with food. They really are, and I can't take that away from a chef. I can't do what they do, but I can take food and turn it into magic. There it is.
Uh, that's awesome. And you have people and the cooking experience, how did you go from and we still need to get to that part of how people get a
Right,
cooking
right.
experience with you. But where was it that you said, "Hey, I'm going to start teaching"? Because didn't you sell food at one point?
I was a restaurant for 27 years. But I
Okay.
knew the restaurant business was dying, and, I took it and I came up with this idea about teaching people how to cook. I used to cut grass thinking about teaching people how to cook, and someone came cook in my kitchen, and they said, "This would sell." Somebody wanted to learn how to cook a jambalaya, and they said, "This would really sell." I said, "Nah," and the wheels started turning, that was it. And then I went to take a tour guide class, and from that tour guide class, while I'm in it, the teacher happened to this is how you really connect in business. He was a tour guide in Vacherie. He came to one of the plantations. His van broke down here. He says, "You let me sit in your place. I didn't have to buy anything. You let me sit in your place." Took care of us, the whole van, until we got a replacement van. He said, "I never forgot that." So he got called with an opportunity to do this show called Boiling 10,000 Crawfish. It's on YouTube. Has 19 million views. And it's the whole crawfishing process. That was and it's like awesome. I got that because of my restaurant, because I took care of my customer who
Mm,
I didn't even know. But everybody that walked in this place was not only a customer, but they were a friend. I
mm.
don't care who you were. I don't care if you walked in one time. You're gonna leave knowing me.
That's awesome. You're gonna know Spuddy. So then you said, "Hey," and what is this about Louisiana? Everybody gets on their lawnmower. I know you got big lawns, and in summer it's a big deal. What is it is this like the meditation zone?
It is. So lawnmower on, got the music on in your ears, drowning out the sound. It takes me 45 minutes to cut my grass, and I daydream a lot. And one of the things that kept coming back is, man, teaching people how to cook. And one of my idols in my young day was Justin Wilson. Love to watch Justin Wilson. He was the Cajun cook. He was on the,
Oh, okay.
CBS station. And used to love watching him cook. And I would think about Justin Wilson and saying, I could do that. I can be like Justin Wilson.
Mm.
And he was like my
And you've got the
cooking
name
hero.
Spuddy.
And I got the name Spuddy. And one thing led to another. And then you wound up building this Cajun cooking experience because what I love is I get to meet people all over the world. I get to go in their country with them. I get doctors, lawyers, laborers, whoever you are, it doesn't matter. You leave all at home. But the best part about it, Lisa, we sit back there and we cook and we tell stories and I'll tell them all the
Mm.
history. You learn the history of the food that we cook 'em. and
Yeah.
you learn all the secrets, and it's very interactive. You dress comfortable. Only rule is you have fun. But after it's over, we all sit down to eat together. Ever heard of visiting on the front porch? We sit down together like the old Cajun way. Used to go visit your grandparents on the front porch. We sit down in my place. I call it the front porch, and we actually sit down and talk and get to know each other. That's
Mm.
when I found out, what did you do for a living? Tell me about yourself.
Mm.
So they get to tell me about themselves. That's how I make a very personal relationship because I want to know what they do or what they've done
Yeah, you're talking about the
and
people
what's
in
their
England.
story.
What's your spice in England? What do you have that's for
Yeah.
your region? It's and I think this is where travel is so important and having an experience versus a transaction, right? In tourism, right? Is
Now, things I learned yesterday, Lisa, when in a seminar I went in. People are looking for experience today. They're not looking for a stand in line and walk one place to the other. They're looking for an experience,
and this
whatever
is
that is.
way. And it's the experience is actually how you can connect with the locals. It used to be go to the two ways you meet people back in the day were go to the bar or go to the church. It's true. But now as travelers, it's changing. And so an experience is where you actually get to learn what the locals do and how they eat, like with what you're doing. And, it makes you feel like, oh, okay, I'm going to try something else. And from what you're doing and teaching people, hey, let me try something else in the kitchen even more. Like it starts to give them some success as well. But
It does.
and doesn't it feel better than turning on the news? Like you feel like the whole world is going to blow each other up. But then if you're all cooking together from different places, that feels better.
It does feel better. One of the things is it's amazing that we don't talk any kind of politics or news or religion. None of this stuff will be doing this because number one, I don't watch the news. That's how I keep positive. And the second thing is they're here to learn about my culture, not about my political view or my religious view or anything like that. So that's never ever come up. This is
Mm.
what I love about what I do. It's the happy end of life. It's cooking, eating, visiting, drinking a few beers, whatever it is.
A beat up
Dancing in
ears.
my kitchen. It's happened already. I've had jitterbugging in the kitchen, second line in the kitchen, somebody taking drinks of fireball in the kitchen. We've had it all. Whatever
Well, I
works.
need to come hang out.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And people say, "Can I bring my own booze?" Sure, bring whatever you like.
Yeah.
Dress comfortable. Only rules to have fun.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I think Louisiana is so unpretentious, which is refreshing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, it is. You're right, and we like to keep it that way.
Hmm?
You know, uh, to come back there and have this because I've taken cooking classes where they were very structured. You know, temperature to this to this, and you have a recipe in front of you. I was bored to death. I have ADD. I'm bored to death. But give me something where we could be interactive and I can just use my imagination. Oh, ask questions. What if we put this in there? And if I have it, I'll go grab it and say, let's find out. A couple that came yesterday, I tried something new. I can't remember what it was. I said, after it was over, I said, I've never done it this way before. And it turned out really good.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, what do you think about families doing this as an experience
I've had
together?
them. I've
Yeah,
had them.
because the younger kids, getting them to maybe not learn, like they don't want to be forced into something, and this is a way a family kind of gets together, put the phone down, do something together, communicate together, and then the kids learn something on cooking. So they do need to learn how to cook their own food and not always just order it out and I think this would be a fun way to get people, get your hands dirty, get your hands in that gumbo pot.
I've had many families anywhere from usually about 10 years old is a good age. Tell you what, one particular little girl, she was 8 years old and she made some hors d'oeuvres and she did some cooking. She took over the whole kitchen. She became the star of the whole thing. So kids do get into it. They come in kind of bashful. They come in, some of them don't want to do it, but most of them get really turned on once they get in here and start doing something. So it's not for every kid, but some of them get real excited. Big groups. I had groups already with kids, sixth graders. One
Oh,
time it was a band group, and every time somebody would come up to cook, it sounded like a pep rally. And so it was awesome. So yeah, and you have to know your kid whether they're gonna like it or not. But if your child really you think they would like it, they really get into it. They really do.
I love it because it gets them excited and start to actually eat food instead of fast food and then and then cook for themselves when they grow up too.
The amazing thing is they eating that real food and they're going, this is good. They're not used to it. It's really like a new discovery. It's awesome.
It is awesome. So families traveling pull over at Spuddy's, but do you have regular dates that people come in, or do they just book by appointment with you?
Book by appointment. So what we do is you go to my website, and it's gonna have a link to send me an email. That's how we start.
Hmm.
In that process, once we pick a date, you give me the dates that you're available, and it'll be your group only. Two hands on is 2 to 12 people. That's what I
Okay.
like to keep. I could do a little bit more, but would have to make some. I'd have to talk to you first. Once we make a date, we will talk. I will get your number and I will call you. Once I call you, then we go over restrictions, allergies, what to expect, any questions you may have, and then we'll set a hard time that we're gonna start, and then it's on.
Cool.
So, because I always like to talk to you first. I always like to make that phone call and talk to you.
I
Uh,
that.
yeah, I want you to get to know me a little bit and feel comfortable in what you come and do.
Awesome. Awesome. And then you do a cooking show too, don't you?
I'm doing it tonight. So
What?
I go
Oh,
live mostly on Wednesday night. It's on 3 channels: Spuddy's Cajun Foods Facebook, or Cajun Cooking Experience Facebook, or Spuddy's Cajun Foods YouTube. And go out there
okay.
and subscribe to that YouTube channel. And at 6:30 Central every Wednesday, unless something comes up, I have a Cajun Cooking Experience or whatever, I go live. And tonight we're actually cooking a mulligan stew tonight
Ooh, wow.
with
Wow.
some beef from a friend of mine. He raised his own cattle. And I talk about a lot of clean eating, farm the table. So somebody giving me some beef to cook it with is special.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Well, this is really exciting, Spuddy. It's good to have you back on the show. And everyone, again, don't forget IFTWA, the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association. You can go to IFWTWA.org. Your website, CajunCookingExperience.com, right? That's where everybody goes
Cool.
for Spuddy. And, just go say, hey, Spuddy, or
Give
you
me a
could go,
shout out. That's right.
go, I.
You give me a shout out, and look, we're gonna start from there. All it takes is a connection, and we friends.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you when we get to Louisiana when we're traveling that Jefferson Highway. We're going to pull over.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely, positively.
thank you so much, Spuddy. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, it has, Lisa, and you have a great day, and hope we get to see each other soon.
I will. And you know what? I'm going to use Cajun seasoning tonight from Juno's because I like it.
There you go. Use what you like. Do you.
I do.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show featuring members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. We encourage you to visit their website. We say IFTWA, which is IFWTWA.org. You can also follow us at bigblendradio.com. Happy travels, everyone!